Podcast with Brad, Jim, and Will. What have they been watching lately? They're husky, hairy, huggable homos. Movie Bears Podcast.
Hello, all, and welcome to the Movie Bears podcast. I'm Bradley Harris, and when our schedules align, which has been a little challenging lately, it's been a busy spring. We of the hirsute persuasion, we of the huggable, hairy homos who are also maybe a little heavy, like to let our powers combine and talk all about film, something near and dear to our bear hearts. We've got a big show for you this week. We're not talking just one movie. We are talking two movies. We're going to be catching up with Thunderbolts, of course, the newest outing from Marvel, as well as Sinners, which has been out for a few weeks at this point, but everyone's still talking about this thing like crazy. And since we have an opportunity to get together, why the fuck can't we do the same? We want to talk about that too. So it's our show. We're doing it. We're talking two movies, but I can't talk about two movies by myself. I wouldn't want to listen to that show. You might not either. So thank goodness we have two co-hosts here to help us out. Jim Pugliafico, newly retired Jim Pugliafico, is with us in the virtual studio. How's that retired movie watching life treating you so far, babe?
It's good. And I think it's going to get better. I mean, I'm still in a transition phase here. Like, it's not just like, you work and then you're retired, but kind of dropping into that retirement mindset and retirement cadence is going to take a while. Because I can tell you that, we've been busy. We've been doing stuff. We had some family travel. We've got some vacation travel coming up, a bunch of that. So it's, it's just life keeps going and we just take it as it comes. And maybe someday I'll drop into what people consider, the retirement gig where I'm just like splayed out on a lounge chair beside the pool with a cocktail or a soda, just doing nothing for days on end. I don't think I'll ever get to that, but I know people ask me all the time, hey, what are you doing in retirement? I'm like, I'm pretty much doing the same thing I've been doing, except for the work part. Like, I've filled all the work time up with other stuff. So, thanks, babe. I'm raring to go. We got two great movies. Can you believe it's the start? Like, it's the early summer movie season already. Like, it's crazy.
It is. And definitely Thunderbolts is helping to kick that off for sure. But
Thunderbolts asterisk. Hello.
Whatever. Before we get into that discussion, though, William Lindis is here with us as well. Hey, Will, so good to see and hear you, friend. What's shaking, bacon?
Hey, what's shaking is we're back, baby. Back to review two movies, and we got some stuff on deck for the upcoming weeks as well. We had to take a little bit of a break, had to line some things with schedules, just a lot going on in life right now. But we picked a real humdinger of a set of films to come back to. Two films that are, I would argue, probably the most buzzy films that have come out this year in different ways. And we're about to add our little stingers to that buzz pile, right? Here we go. This is going to be a good conversation, and I can think of no two people in the world I would rather have this conversation with than the two of you.
Well, love and adore you, friend. I'm excited too, absolutely. And why don't we just go ahead, if y'all are ready, let's dive into it, and we'll start things off with our Sinners discussion. Are we good with that synergy?
Let's do it.
We're all sinners here. Come on.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's fair. But we mean well, right? In any event, as we normally do, we're going to talk about Sinners spoiler-free for a few minutes at the start of the segment. We'll each kind of take turns giving our initial thoughts, and then we'll probably just jump right into spoilers for that one. We'll give a fair warning before we do, though, but no spoilers before that point. So if you haven't seen it yet, you're like, everyone's talking about this thing. Now you're talking about it. What the fuck? Maybe I need to see it. We want to protect that experience for you. So fret not, but operate according to your own will. Your will, not our will. We operate by our will. You have to
Right.
yours.
You
Right.
by your own. Yeah. Get your own will.
Yeah, we got ours.
So,
Get away.
there you go. All right. All of that said, here we go. Our discussion of Sinners. All right. Well, if you don't mind, tee this one up for us. What is this movie? Why are people talking about it so much? What did you think? Lay into it.
All right, so Sinners. It's a new horror film written and directed by Ryan Coogler. Ryan Coogler, you may recognize as the director who did Fruitvale Station and most recently things like Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, and the first Creed movie. This movie is set in the 1930s. It's a supernatural horror period drama starring Michael B. Jordan in the lead roles as a set of twins who go back to their hometown in the South, trying to start again after some things go awry in the big city. There they decide to launch a juke joint of their own, but they soon find out that a great evil is lurking in the shadows outside, trying to take everything that they're trying to build away from them. First of all, I'll talk a little bit about what this movie is doing. This movie is setting records. It is now the 6th highest domestic box office for a horror film. And it's in the top 30 in terms of worldwide domestic. And that's as of the time that we're recording this right now. It's extended its run and has extended its IMAX release as well. So those numbers are only going to go up. People are flocking to see this movie. And part of it is because of course, the star power, Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan, and a few other cast members we'll talk about here in a moment. But also because of some of the backstory behind how Ryan Coogler navigated the studio system with this one. He set some deals with Warner Brothers so that he gets not just, a couple of different things. He gets distribution. He gets front end. He gets front end money as opposed to having to like wait until the back end, which happens a lot of times. A lot of times if you're signed on to a film, especially something that is with a big studio, you make your money after the marketing money has been sent and after the studio has made theirs back. That's not the deal Michael B. Jordan made. I'm sorry, that Ryan Coogler made. Also, the rights to this will automatically revert back to Coogler in 25 years, which is almost unheard of. So he's negotiating this studio system in a way that is inspiring to a lot of other filmmakers. All of that said, it's a fucking good movie. And that's the most important part about this. This is Ryan Coogler cashing in essentially a blank check after making a few big studio movies, which were all really good movies. But to make something that is personal and hard-hitting, he gets an absolute rogues gallery of cast members here. I especially was blown away by Miles Catton, kind of the young, I would say co-lead against Michael B. Jordan. And I also really loved seeing Haley Steinfeld here. She did a fantastic job. And one of my absolute favorites to see in just about any movie these days. And she shows up every so often. Wunmi Mosaku. We saw her in Lovecraft Country, and then she's most recently been on like the Loki series and she's done some stuff in Marvel. What's so fascinating about this movie is it's not just a horror movie. It is a horror movie, and we get to the horror stuff, and the horror stuff hits, and it hits hard. But it's also a drama about people navigating sort of like the complex road between where they were and where they want to be and everything in between, bouncing off of one another as they try to figure out kind of where their place in life is. There's this beautiful underlying supernatural element outside of the horror elements that sort of speak to the joy of this type of like celebration of Black music in the 1930s and what it means both now and as it resonates through time. It's something that is, this film does a few things that are big swings, and when it hits those swings, it hits them incredibly well. It's one of those films where I sometimes think about, like, does this resonate with me because I like the story? Does it resonate with me because I like the direction? Does it resonate with me because I like the acting? Does it resonate with me because the characters have good motivation? Is it because of the set design? Is it the costuming? Is it the score? Is it the original music? Is it the way it lands the ending? Yes, it's literally all of those things. This is my favorite movie of the year so far. We're only a little ways of the way into the year. There's still a lot of year left, but Sinners is one of those rare movies that comes along and not just expands the genre it's in, but defies the genre it's in, elevates the genre it's in, and draws eyes in a way that I think is very well deserved. Sinners is a go for me.
Sounds like this one really, really hit a lot of your like awesome areas. I don't know how else to call them. Will, just like ticking the boxes and filling with joy.
Taste buds.
It's one of those movies, where you sit there and you're moved by the movie, not just because you're moved by the story, but because you're moved by the piece of art that you're experiencing. That's what this did for me. And that's rare. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. All right. Well, Will, thank you so much for setting that up and sharing your initial thoughts with us. I'm sure we'll get into more when we get into spoilers. But before we do that, I do believe Jim Pugliafico has some thoughts to share as well. Jim, what do you think of Sinners?
Yeah, you hit on a lot of the things that I wanted to say about Sinners. This movie was a surprise, a little bit of a surprise to me. Didn't see a lot. We saw the trailer a couple times leading up to the movie, and the trailer hides its cards very well for the movie, I think. Which is a good thing because that lends to the surprise when you finally see the movie, which is what happened here. Will, you mentioned big swings. This movie takes the biggest swings of the year so far, and I think pretty much all of them hit. They all land for me. So many things, like you said, it's a period drama. It's a vampire horror movie. It's, it's a human struggle movie. It's a music, kind of like a musician origin story, like roots music, a story in there too. So it's a lot of these things that I think you would normally say, this fucking movie was all over the place. It was tonally crazy. Is it a fucking horror movie or is it a music movie? What is it? This is where all the pieces actually went together well and fit together really well. I think the art in this movie, in terms of the direction and the writing, is the glue that holds this all together. And I just want to, say that, but also, Michael B. Jordan is great here. He's got the 2 roles on his shoulder. I want to point out another cast member that you didn't mention, Will. I thought you would, who almost stole this movie, I think, from some of these big names. And that's Delroy Lindo, who played Delta Slim in this movie.
Yes.
Love seeing him show up. He was awesome in this. So I loved it. I love this movie. I think it's so ambitious, but not so ambitious that it tips over and falls on its face, right? It definitely pulls it off. And the horror was well done, even though it like I said, it held its cards pretty long into the movie in terms of the horror stuff, which might frustrate some people, although I think the payoff here was really good. I loved it. I think it's worth seeing. Definitely see Sinners if you can.
All right, Jim. Sounds like this one was a big hit for you as well. Glad to hear that you enjoyed it so much. I gotta say, going into this movie, we had seen the trailer a bunch of times, and I shared with Jim recently that trailers aren't my favorite thing, and that sometimes I'd rather stand in line for the popcorn and soda than watch the same trailers over and over and over again. But this was a trailer that always made me sit up and take notice when it played. And it was a trailer that just hooked me in a lot of different ways. Michael B. Jordan, Ryan Coogler, like just so many like great, components of DNA movie making come together in this film. Even from the trailer alone, it looks fantastic. But actually seeing the movie, I was pretty blown away by it. Vampire movies at this point, especially coming off Nosferatu a few months ago, I was just kind of like, another vampire movie. But Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan, like this could be good. And boy, oh boy, was it. I think, as a period piece, set when it's set and where it's set, dealing with some of the themes that it works with, there's a lot there to pull from and use to ground a vampire story in. And I think that's what makes it work so well for me in this case. This isn't an Anne Rice vampire story set in Gothic wherever, right? Like this is people, this was like, was this like the 40s or the 50s, 30s, somewhere
40s,
in there?
maybe?
Yeah,
30s.
30s, something like that. But it's like close enough in like relative time. Like, my grandparents were alive in the 30s. I've seen pictures of them dressed like that, like I could relate to it. And I've spent some time down in the South, and I'm just thinking, fuck, like what would I do if I were like down in the bayou and these vampires show up and they're trying to get in, and the film deals with some of the like common vampire tropes because you kind of have to, right? But it also turns some of them completely on their head in some ways that just kept things interesting. It kept things moving throughout. And, without spoiling anything, even the like action scenes and lots of gun blasts and whatever, sometimes that can be really gratuitous and just noise that makes me tune out. And I've discovered that's because of my ADHD. Sensory overwhelm makes me tune out. But like this was just enough to give you the good stuff without being overbearing about it. So some really cool, smart things. Also, too, I've been playing a game lately called South of Midnight, and it deals with haints and spirits, and it's set in the bayou, and a lot of the accents are very similar. I felt like this movie was an extension of the game. And then when I played the game after the movie, that the game was an extension of the movie. It was really cool. It's really neat. So we're not doing plugs this episode, but South of Midnight is super.
But there's your plug.
There's my plug. In any event, this was a fantastic film. And I'm really glad I got a chance to see this one.
Yeah. And I want to talk about this one more, but like you said, I think it's rip off the Band-Aid for spoilers. Yeah. I will say, it is being re-released in IMAX right now. I have not seen it in IMAX, but the people that saw it in the first run on IMAX have been raving about just how good it looks, especially some of the bigger sequences. So if you have the opportunity to see this and you haven't seen it yet, check to see if you have an IMAX or even a Limax in your area.
Great call there. Absolutely. For sure. All right, well, let's get into some spoilers. If you haven't seen Sinners yet, we do have several people who are hanging out with us right now. Hello, by the way, those of you in the live chat or maybe in the comments if you're engaging through digital tape delay and Apple Podcasts, Spotify, etc. Love to hear what you think, too. Feel free to share your thoughts. But we're going into spoiler town for this one. So step away as needed, but spoilers... ... Okay, I'm rambling too much. I think it's enough time. Totally fair game. They're
enough
happening. ... Where do y'all want to start with this one?
I want to talk about the thing that was the biggest swing for me, which was there is a sequence maybe about halfway through this film, and they set it up in the beginning with this idea that there are certain people who, when they play music, they are able to transcend time. They're able to essentially play a piece of music that reaches forward, reaches backwards through our souls, through everything, bring us together. And it's something that is so powerful and so unique that it's just like this ultimate display of like community and goodness. And that sometimes can also attract evil who, hates and loathes those things. And this plays through the role of we have Preacher Boy, who is the lead, played against Smoke and Stack, the two characters that Michael B. Jordan plays. And so Preacher Boy plays the guitar and he sings. And we know that he's good because we've seen him play. But he gets this chance in the middle of the film, right as the juke joint is launched and it's opened up and everyone is getting ready to celebrate, and he begins to play on stage. And there's a moment where everyone's celebrating and it's cool and we're like, oh yeah, this is great. And then you start to see people like tribal singers who are obviously not there, but are sort of summoned and incanted through this. And you start to see people from 1970s, kind of like hip hop. You start to see people from like today doing like in club, like dancing in the club. You get to see people from all different types of music and works from the different cultures that are represented here, predominantly the Asian cultures that we get to see through a couple of the characters here. And then just sort of this, again, celebration of Black music through time. And then the roof catches on fire, the walls fall off, and we get to see something that transcends everything. I think that is one of those pieces of cinema that I will never forget. It did something that was unique. It did something that captivated me. It did something that was so in tune with what the story was trying to tell me, but also something that I would have never have guessed to have seen in this film, or to appreciate as much as I did, because I think just reading that description, it feels like it may not have worked, but god damn, this works so well.
Yeah, well, that is one of the big swings, certainly, and one that kind of stands out in my memory. I don't know if it worked as much on me the first time through, and I would like to see this film again. You say it was set up at the beginning. Perhaps it was, but when it happened, halfway through the movie there, I was like, okay, I think I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to connect, the power of music, specifically Black music, through history and different timelines and stuff. And I get that. I just don't know that it landed 100% with me, because I was like, ooh, what am I going to see next? What's going on here? I think the second time through, I would probably be more primed for that, and it might work on me a different way. But it definitely was a huge, bold move to put that right there in the middle of the movie, right? When you've already got the horror part of it kind of amping up already a little bit. And yeah, so that was really good. The one thing I will say is, I kind of want to see the prequel to this movie. There's at the very first scene, I think it's the very first scene, some indigenous peoples, they look like soldiers, or I don't know what they are. They come up in horseback, or they're chasing a dude across a ranch or something, and the dude breaks in and, save me from these people who are chasing me. And, that I want to see what led up to that situation, because that had to be some fucked up shit also. And I think that could be pretty cool.
And we call the movie Original Sin.
Original Sinners.
Yeah. Yeah, the setup is the very opening scene is there's like some narration where they basically say, like, some people can play music so powerful that, and so they kind of explain
it's a church
that
scene, but then
yeah. And so, but you hear them talking about how it can transcend time, and how it can, basically setting up that core thesis, so that when that happens, and then also when the vampires show up, we already know to expect both great good and great bad, because the beginning of the movie kind of gave us at least like the first of those railroad tracks.
Right. But you got to wonder, like, what kind of hell the leader, the vampire people led by, what was his name? Jack, or what was the guy's name? Remick? Was that his name? The kind of the leader of the vampire family, or
Remick
clan. That kind of reminded me a lot of like Manson. Like it kind of had a weird parallel to like the Manson family, where they were like following this one kind of way out there dude. But like, you got to wonder what kind of havoc that group of folks imparted on the indigenous folks that were in the area that were like chasing him across the desert, because he showed up, he was already burning a little bit. It was very, very strange, and you're like, holy shit, what's going on here? And then after the movie, I'm like, oh, I wish I knew more about that. I wish I knew more about what happened in that. And I'm like, oh, that's a prequel.
Who knows? Maybe we'll
Yeah.
get a novel or something, if not another movie. But there's just, man, there's so much here to work with. And again, I mentioned earlier, like the vampire tropes, like having to invite somebody inside. But like, what the fuck do you do when there's already a vampire inside your safe haven that's waking up while you're trying to fight, and keep out the vampires that are outside? And, gun violence is never something I've been particularly comfortable with. I really I hate guns, and I wish they weren't a thing. But I found myself like thankful that they had a fucking gun like inside, that gin joint with them. Like, and it kind of broke my heart, like to see brother against brother, twin against twin, right? Between Smoke and Stack, and them trying to understand, what has really happened and what's going on. I think one of the things I really appreciate about this movie, in a lot of films where you have the same actor playing, twins, it's so obvious sometimes that like, oh, they're talking to somebody else who's like a stand-in, and it's shot over the shoulder, so you can't tell that it's somebody else that he's emoting to. I actually, Ryan fucking Coogler, amazing job. I forgot that Michael B. Jordan doesn't have a twin. It just seemed like two characters. They were twins. They were talking to each other. Like, all questions about the filmmaking and all that just went out the window. The acting was incredible. The story was phenomenal. I will say, though, if there's one criticism I have about this film, it's that it's misnamed. It shouldn't be called Sinners. It should be called Smokers.
There's a lot
so
of
much
smoking.
Maybe that is smoking a sin. I don't know if it is or not. I would like to talk about the title of the movie. Like, what do you think the title of the movie refers to? Like, who are the sinners? Is it maybe it's just a title to make you think, who are the sinners in this movie? Who are you supposed to think are the sinners in this movie? Interesting. It's an interesting title. I think it has layers to it, and if you think about it, and that's cool with me.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially since you have a lot of characters who are, especially the two main characters who are
gangsters, basically.
Gangsters, but the two main characters are dealing with their own pasts. Not just like the crime that they've done, although there's that, but also some of the stuff that weighs them down, some of the stuff that anchors them. They did something that's, I think, very important here. The first time we were introduced to Smoke and Stack, the two of them are leaned up against a car, one of them wearing mostly blue, one of them wearing mostly red, so that we immediately get some color coding, which carries through about 2/3 of the movie, so it makes it easy to differentiate them right out of the gate. But one of them has a cigarette and hands it to the other, and the other one grabs it and takes it. And that's a type of special effect that it's not a hard special effect. There's people that do like this type of thing on like YouTube and stuff like that and show you how to do those types of things. What this was, though, was an incredibly well executed version of that and an incredibly well timed version of that, because the first time we see the twins, they're touching and interacting with each other in a casual way. They're both having slightly different reactions to something, so that we know which one's the more cool-headed one and which one's more of the hothead, and we can immediately tie those to the colors of their blazers that they're wearing, so that any scene that we have after that, we're immediately like, there's no question which character is which is really hard in this type of film. Kudos to Coogler for doing that. Kudos to the DP. Kudos to everyone involved in this, and to Michael B. Jordan. He's a great actor. He's one of our finest. I'm probably pretty confident that this is probably his most complex work that he's done, just by definition of what he has to do here. And he nails it. This is just a masterclass in really portraying two different characters without it being like caricature. They're both very fully realized, full characters who, if he was only playing one of these two characters in the movie, it would have been a fully realized character. But he gets to do that twice.
Yeah, great job by him playing those roles, and for Coogler in making it so seamless that you had to kind of remind yourself through the movie that, oh, that's the same actor that's playing both of those. That's Michael B. Jordan again, right? And that's a feat in itself. The other thing that helped me out is I am a fan of, like, I don't know what you call it, maybe country blues or Delta blues music, guitar music specifically. And so that was a big plus for me personally. I don't know how it plays with some of today's audiences who are, seem to be more and more removed from roots music, maybe. But definitely really landed for me.
Yeah, the music in this film was really incredible too. From the song in the car as they're like driving through the cotton fields, to just the like dancing, rousing music they were playing, in the juke joint, to the numbers. Like, music is such an integral part of this whole film, even at the end, right? When it's 60 years later or whatever, right? Like, we still see that music is such a huge piece of this. And I think my question is, like, if Preacher Boy summoned vampires once with his music, did his music like re-summon the two vampires that lived, or did they just come to look up an old friend? Has he been summoning more vampires in the years in between? I don't know. But that's kind of the fun of it too, right? Like, it keeps you guessing. And I really appreciate that about this movie.
Mm-hmm.
We also have the score here. Ludwig Göransson is basically like Ryan Coogler's like partner with a lot of his movies. He's done Black Panther, the Creed films. He did Fruitvale Station, the score for those. You also would recognize his music from Book of Boba Fett, The Mandalorian, a few other, and some television shows as well. But he also did the score for Oppenheimer, which he got an Oscar for. This is a guy who busy guy, but he created a score that is as integral to this movie as that roots music, that Delta blues music that you're talking about. So it's whenever the music is playing, whether it be score or soundtrack, it hits, because Coogler has surrounded himself with a rogues gallery of the people that he works best with and most wants to work with to create the type of film that he most wants to put out into the world. We probably need to move on, Brad, because I could talk about this one for another 2 hours.
I was going to say, I'm like, oh, we have all the time in the world. And I'm like, oh, fuck, no, we don't. We have another movie to talk about. Shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, this one is absolutely the goods. And if you've listened to us spoil the shit out of this movie, not having seen it yourself yet, hopefully you'll still have a really great experience if you've been convinced enough to go check it out, especially since it's getting that pre-release. It's going to be in IMAX. Now's a great time to do it. But I'm sure eventually, it'll be coming to streaming and stuff too. So you'll be able to catch up with it at some point. But Jim, Will, how do you feel about switching gears and talking about a Marvel movie?
Yeah. Hell yeah. Let's do it.
Let's go.
All right. Rock on. Well, in that case, we are going to go ahead and put a fork in Sinners for now, or a steak in Sinners, and move on to our next movie discussion of the week. Here we go. Our discussion of Thunderbolts. Asterisk? Question mark? All right, Jim, set this one up for us if you don't mind. We probably don't need a ton because it's a Marvel movie. Everybody knows about the new Marvel movies, but what is this one? generally what's it about, and more importantly, what did you think of this one? Spoiler free, of course, until we get to our spoiler section.
Sure. The name of this new Marvel movie, and I don't know, I was going to look it up before the show, but I forgot like how many Marvel feature films we've had so far. I'm sure one of you could probably look it up, but this one's called Thunderbolts asterisk. I won't use the asterisk every time I say Thunderbolts on this show because it's kind of a pain in the ass. But Will found it. He said this is Marvel film number 36.
I just said it in our private chat, but oof.
Right. Was Iron Man the first one?
I think technically,
Hulk?
yeah. The Hulk movie actually came out right after Iron Man, so Iron Man still counts as the first. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, it's been a while, and we've got 36 Marvel movies of varying quality, but they've all had a big footprint. They've all made a splash in their own way. Thunderbolts, I didn't know really much about it. I don't know the comics, as you guys well know. I mean, we've probably been through this. It hasn't been 36 times, but we've been through this a lot of times with Marvel movies and me. Like, I don't know a lot of the background. I don't read the Marvel comics and stuff. So I didn't know what Thunderbolts was. Saw the trailer. I'm like, okay, here we go again. But I'll read the non-spoilery synopsis from IMDb. Here we go. After finding themselves ensnared in a death trap, an unconventional team of anti-heroes must embark on a dangerous mission that will force them to confront the darkest corners of their pasts. Okay, well, here we go again, right? So we've got a team of anti-heroes in a superhero or super anti-hero movie. We've seen this before many times from Guardians of the Galaxy. I would say there's some anti-heroes, or maybe they're all anti-heroes. I don't know, on that team. Suicide Squad is another one. I'm not even sure if that's Marvel or not, but whatever. People can tear me apart later. It's not Marvel, but
DC.
But we've seen a lot of anti-hero, team of anti-heroes movies over the years, and this is Marvel's latest one, and we'll hold off spoilers for now. I was wondering, what the asterisk really meant in this movie, to the point where we're walking into the movie and I'm like, do I need to know what the asterisk means in order to appreciate this movie? I mean, how many movies did I have to see, and do I need to know what the asterisk means? And I'm sure a lot of people knew that, but I didn't. I knew that. So here's what I thought. I thought this movie was good, as Marvel movies go and superhero quote unquote movies go. I kind of enjoyed this once it got rolling. It was a slow, sluggish, questionable start for me. But once this movie got rolling and the team got assembled, I really did get more into it. From the beginning, Florence Pugh is an actor that I really like. I think this is really her movie. This movie has a lot of notable names in it, right? It has Sebastian Stan, of course, as Bucky. We've seen him as Bucky Barnes in the different movies and the TV series that I didn't watch. We got Julia Louis-Dreyfus from Seinfeld and lots of other stuff coming in here. David Harbour, of course, from previous movies and Stranger Things. Wyatt Russell from the Monarch movies. I mean, like, there's a lot of big names in these movies. But to me, this is Florence Pugh's movie. She's obviously the leader of this gang in this movie, and I thought her acting was great in this. The others, I don't know. David
Harbour.
David Harbour, he's fine. He does his thing. He does his Red Rover. What is it? What is he? The
Red Guardian.
What? The Red Guardian. The Red Guardian. He does his Red Guardian fine, and he's kind of mostly here for comic relief. And this movie does try to say some things, I think, about the human condition, and perhaps depression and trauma, I would say. And some of that I think lands. This movie was fine. This movie was good as a Marvel movie goes. I think it's good. Will it be on my list of top 10 movies of the year? I kind of doubt it. But I will say it was a good effort for a Marvel movie for me.
All right. Well, given your track record with Marvel movies, that is perhaps high praise. But thank you so much.
It's
Jim,
praise. It's
for,
praise.
Okay. Let's level set, right? Thanks for weighing in. Will, how about for you? You're kind of our comic book aficionado, especially in the Marvel space. How did this one land on your end?
Well, the good news, if you're coming into this wondering what you need to know from the comics to make this work, the answer is very little. In the comic books, the Thunderbolts was a team of, they were a bunch of villains who pretended to be heroes, and then most of them started to like kind of liking the idea of being heroes, and they turned against the one that had organized them, and they became a superhero team of their own regard. It's different characters than the ones we saw in this movie. So really the DNA is just a bunch of kind of villain / anti-hero type characters banding together to be heroes. That's what that's what they adapted from Thunderbolts. A couple other minor storylines from other things got pulled in, but not in a way that you need to know much about it. And that's refreshing, because you do have to know a little bit about some of the other Marvel properties to catch up to some of the different things here. The Black Widow movie and then the Hawkeye show gave us some of the Florence Pugh stuff. We saw Winter Soldier and Falcon gave us the Wyatt Russell U.S. agent stuff, and so on and so forth all the way through. But the movie also does a pretty good job of just sort of pulling you in and introducing you to these characters and saying, wait, aren't you the guy that used to be this? Hey, aren't you the person that used to be that? So that we can lampshade and move on. I came into this one kind of cautiously optimistic because I noticed something during the last few weeks ramp up to this that felt very rare. Every single one of these cast members was not just doing the marketing junket, but doing so with like exuberance, and like in a way where it's like they weren't just like, oh, I'm marketing this thing because I've got to do this for my paycheck, but just like, I'm proud of the thing that I did, and I had a fun time doing the thing that I did. And I should have known. We have a good, not just the cast on screen, but the group behind. Jake Schreier, he most recently is the guy that directed Beef, the series on Netflix, which is about two characters who are in a self-destructive collide with one another and themselves, which feels very appropriate to the themes that come in here to Thunderbolts. Joanna Kahlo, she's the producer, showrunner for things like The Bear and BoJack Horseman. She knows how to do stuff that has heavy weight and merit. And all of that to say, I really liked this movie. I liked this. I think this feels like high level Marvel, right? Depending on where you're at in terms of like, oh, I like Marvel movies, I don't, wherever, that's all fine. But there's always a spectrum, right? Like the ones that are at the top and the ones that are at the bottom. And I think this one for me pushes more towards the top. And Jim, it sounds like, probably similar to you in that regard. And I think it's because this movie leans so heavily into the character, not just what the characters are doing and bouncing off of one another, but what the characters are feeling, what they're going through, why this dysfunctional group of people needs one another, what they've learned from one another, how they are caustic to one another, and hopefully what may pull them together by the end of this film. There is a gradient to this film as it's shot that kind of has this sort of like slightly bluish gray tint, not just during some of the big set pieces, but all throughout. Even the opening shot of just Florence Pugh just in a stark, not joyful shot with kind of like moody filters over it, that I think gives this film a little bit of texture that sometimes is missing in the Marvel films, that sometimes feel a little more like blankly lit. I think here there is something that matches the color coding to the tone. I liked all these characters. You're gonna find your own that you like and love more than others. The David Harbour character, we got as much of him as we needed. He is a bit much, and I don't always love like the character that's always quippy, but here he served a function that I just got off of watching Daredevil, and all throughout that show, there are a bunch of people saying, Matt, you shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do this. It was nice to have a character saying, no, yeah, be a superhero. Being a superhero is fun to the other characters when the others are all moody. It gives enough contrast to kind of keep it from being too head up its own ass.
Kind of like the cheerleader.
The cheerleader, and you need that in a group dynamic. And I also want to praise Wyatt. I mean, this is the Florence Pugh show. She kills it. This is, star. I want to say star making, but she's already a star. But you know what I mean. But Wyatt Russell also does some great work with John Walker here. That was the other character I enjoyed really following through. He's an asshole, but you get it, and you want to understand more about him. Good action, good story, and it sets up some fun things. It has me reinvigorated in a lot of good ways. So let's go. I like Thunderbolts. Asterisk.
Asterisk because it's part of the title. Asterisk that you liked it, or both.
It's part of the title.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, Will, thank you as well for sharing your thoughts too. For me, I think y'all have covered most of the bases that I was going to hit as well. Florence Pugh, fucking amazing. Without going into spoilers, this movie says some really cool things about mental health. And I think that's what I appreciated most about this film. It certainly wasn't sexy shirtless scenes with David Harbour, because he wasn't shirtless really in the whole movie. And that was a disappointment.
Minus
but I will
half a
tell
star.
you, I know, right? I will tell you, though, the real standout for me in this movie wasn't Florence Pugh, although she was amazing. Okay, she was the standout. Second standout. Not David Harbour, not Wyatt Russell. It was Lewis fucking Pullman.
Mm-hmm.
I was blown away by Lewis Pullman's performance. And it's interesting because, like, when he kind of enters this movie, I was actually really annoyed. I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? And like, why is he here? And like, he's distracting from the things I want to be paying attention to. And by the end of the movie, he and Florence Pugh are like the only things I wanted to pay attention to. And I think that's kind of incredible. His character really took me on a journey. And I think Florence Pugh and Lewis Pullman were like the team up I didn't know I needed since Jason Momoa and Jack Black in the Minecraft movie, which was also really fucking fun and cool. This was epic in its own way, just, not as blocky and not as schlocky fun, but like more like serious, deep well of the soul heart kind of awesomeness. So this was a lot of fun. I am so Marvel fatigued out at this point, y'all, that going into this movie, I was just like, oh, geez. A Marvel movie about C-list characters I don't care about. But I enjoyed this one. It wasn't like a 4 or 5 star movie for me. I think I rated it like 3.5, but I had fun with it. I got to eat popcorn. I got to see some cool stuff happen. I got to see some characters that I really don't like get some bad shit thrown their way. And then, hey, that's always a good time, right? So in any event, check this one out while it's in theaters. Otherwise, it's going to be coming to Disney Plus at some point soon. You'll be able to catch up with it. But this was a fun one.
Brad, you talked about Lewis Pullman and weird connections with this character and this actor in this movie. Someone said, so his name in this movie is Bob. Someone said he played a character in another thing that was also Bob. And I don't remember what it was, but that's not the thing I want to talk about. Lewis Pullman is Bill Pullman's son, actor Bill Pullman. If you know, I love Bill Pullman. Specifically from a recent series, mini. That's right, Will. You mentioned it. Lewis Pullman played Bob in Top Gun Maverick. So another big movie from a couple years ago. So anyway, Bill Pullman recently in a series called The Sinner. And
Oh,
here we are. Oh no. Did you hear me?
yeah.
No, I heard you. I'm just having some issues with my camera. I was trying to quietly
Oh,
fix
okay. Sorry, at some point I
Yeah.
must have
And
activated.
I was just saying, oh
so
no,
she
because
came
like,
up.
oh, the connection to Sinners. That's cool.
Yeah, the connection of Sinners is Lewis's Pullman's dad is Bill Pullman, who played in a show called The Sinner. Anyway, just a weird little connection. But yes, I did like his character. I did like the buildup of his character for the most part. We'll talk about more in spoilers when we get there, but maybe it's almost time.
There's an alternate universe too, where we just talked about Beef. Stephen Yeun was originally tapped to play that role and had to drop out because of some conflicts. But it was like pretty deep into the kind of the casting when the replacement from Stephen Yeun to Lewis Pullman happened, and both would have played that character, I think, in very different ways. And I don't mean that in a like I wish I'd seen the other one versus this one. Just it's a very interesting piece to sort of to know what might have been on the other side of that sliding door. But Lewis Pullman did a great job here. I really loved the weight that he pulled, and of course Julie Louis-Dreyfus, like she's really channeling that like Selena Meyer like Veep energy here, and I liked seeing it. I especially like seeing it kind of cast off of Geraldine Viswanathan, who plays her assistant here. I think she also did a good job, and we didn't get a lot of her, but we got enough. And I think that's what this film did. The supporting characters, I got as much of them as I needed without getting too much, but I really got to always center back on the characters that were driving the emotional pull when I needed it.
Okay.
Emotional pull,
pull
is always a good thing in my book.
He's the other son. He's the other son of Bill Pullman. Emotional Pullman.
I was going to transition us to spoilers, but Jim, did you have something else?
No, I'll talk about it in spoilers.
All right. Will, looks like you're good too. I saw your thumbs up. Kick ass. All right. We're going to take this thing into spoiler territory. If you have yet to see Thunderbolts and you want to preserve your innocence, step away. We're not doing plugs this episode, so there's nothing to come back for at the end unless you just want to hear us share how you can get in touch with us online. So feel free to do that. Otherwise, spoilers totally happening right now. Jim, you want to kick us off, whatever that thing was?
Yeah, Will mentioned Julie Louis-Dreyfus as, I guess, the villain in this film. Right? Even though at the end it kind of folds back around, and she's still the villain, but she takes credit for spoiler, the Thunderbolts are now calling themselves, or they're being named, the New Avengers. I believe that's what the asterisk is supposed to mean.
That's what the asterisk is. Yep.
Yeah, and how that plays out in the MCU, I don't know. I'm not an expert on it. I'm sure there's probably a whole lore about that's either in the past or is building about how the Thunderbolts are or are not the New Avengers. But I'll leave that to the comic book folks to talk about. But I don't know. I had an issue with Julie Louis-Dreyfus in this. I just wasn't buying, from the beginning at least. I wasn't buying her as that kind of like mastermind, behind the scenes, pulling the strings kind of person. I don't know what it was about the character, and it's not to say about the actress, the actor. I think she did fine. I just don't think the character was very strong. And maybe that's intentional. I don't know. I did like how, her master plan to create Bob, the Sentry. I love that part. But I just didn't dig her character all that much, unfortunately.
I think leaning into the sort of the emotional part of this, and I've got a question for you here in a moment, Brad, but one of the things that I liked so much about this movie was that when it tackled its core thing, it wasn't just about depression. Although depression is sort of woven into it, it's a more complex version of depression, of trauma, of ennui, of boredom, of not understanding your place, a feeling that you're squandering yourself, of colliding with yourself, a feeling out of grips with the people that you are now in touch with, a feeling out of grips with the people that you've lost along the way, in a very weird, unspeakable, squishy, weird ball, which I think more accurately captures that set of emotions than sometimes when we just say, this is a movie that's about depression. This is a movie that's about grief, which there's plenty of those, especially in horror, that kind of lean into kind of those types of things and do it incredibly well. But I like that this movie had a bunch of characters who all were experiencing some squishy version of that emotion. And because it was so squishy, they weren't able to clearly define it and they weren't able to clearly solve it, except for sort of forcing themselves through it and experiencing it. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was a clever look at mental health overall. And Brad, you had mentioned up front that you liked the way it tackled some mental health things. Where did you land on sort of the way they grappled with it?
Yeah, I mean, this movie said something that I felt was very honest, and you just hit on it. There is no fixing depression. There's not. There's levels of managing it. There's levels of getting through the minute, getting through the hour, getting through the day, week, year, whatever. But like, depression for a lot of people is always going to be a thing. Trauma for a lot of people is always going to be a thing. And if I've learned anything in the last year through a lot of the different therapy and things that I've been doing to work on my own depression, it's that it's all about finding your way like through the moment, like figuring out, even when that like huge wave of nothingness hits, right? In the movie, they're trying to find their way through the different rooms and like get out of it. And in a lot of ways, I feel like that's what depressive people do, right? Like one room is like you're in bed and you're so sad and you're so anxious you can't get out of bed. Well, find your way out of that room to at least go brush your teeth. Well, now you're in the room where you brush your teeth and you take a shower. Maybe you can take that shower and get out of that room and go into the next one where you can, get something to eat. And before you know it, you've gone through so many rooms that you're into your day. You're accomplishing things. Maybe you're doing things that make the depression a little bit better. All these fucking movies that preach to you about like, depression's curable. You just need love and light and people around you. Those things are great. Don't get me wrong. They help. They don't fix it. They don't cure it. I think we need to help people understand what depression really is and how it really impacts people. And sometimes the best thing you can fucking do, thank you Frozen 2, is just the next right thing, even if it's something as small as taking a drink of water. So I love that about this film.
Yeah, baby. I knew this would hit some strong emotions in you. There are some scenes in here that I'm sure people who have been through certain traumas would find maybe even triggering, a word that's overused a little bit. But there's some in here that I would worry about people seeing, but they're brief, but they're there. And I think they're there for a reason, to make a point. And the movie does do that very well.
One thing that works.
I don't want to say what they are because I don't know. It seems it's personal, right? It's everyone has their personal trauma.
It is,
right? Yeah,
right. Yeah.
One thing that was nice to see is the way they adapted some of the other things. You mentioned like, oh, this might tie into some other Thunderbolt story where they're actually the new Avengers. Kind of, but kind of not. There was another group of villains that Norman Osborn in the comics basically he bought out the Avengers and he made them the new Avengers. And so now there was a bad group of Avengers, and it had nothing to do with the Thunderbolts, really. They're kind of pulling a little bit of that, but they're just pulling just sort of the threads of it and letting this live as its own thing. And I think that's what's cool. Even the Sentry character is a character who was introduced as this guy who's basically this version of Superman in the Marvel universe, but also his split personality is the arch villain, the Void. They translated that in a way that fit what this story and what this team needed. I like that this wasn't like, if you're looking for like deep comic accuracy between any of these things, you're really not going to get it. And that's okay, because what they've instead done is they've basically taken a character who is a nothing in the comics. Yelena is nothing in the comics. But Florence Pugh has made such a damn good performance out of her in all of her appearances that she is now a marquee character in this MCU. And someone who we want to see follow, who we could see headline more of these movies. They didn't do that by sticking to like, oh, we've got to do this part of Yelena's backstory. They said, what makes the most sense for the story we want to tell going forward? I think that's what Thunderbolts does the best of, in terms of its adaptation stuff. It's taking just the bare bones, but it's making something new and exciting, and that will launch them into new directions that I'm really excited to see, because I don't 100% know where they're going, because it's not just following story A, B, or C.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think for me, Jim, you mentioned Suicide Squad, and Will, you just sparked something for me. I think why I appreciate this movie so much more than Suicide Squad is at the beginning of the movie, they're all characters that I really don't give a shit about. Like Sea Level, well, maybe not for you or other big Marvel fans, but you know, when you think about like your Iron Mans and your Thors and everything else, right? Like Red Guardian, I guess he's kind of like a Captain America, but like it's not that level of character. But this movie actually made me care about most of them. Not so much Bucky Barnes and US Agent or whatever the fuck he's called now, Dark Captain America or whatever, I don't know. But what really is interesting for me is it makes me want to watch. I think the Florence Pugh character, was she in the Hawkeye show?
She was in the Hawkeye show.
I didn't watch that. It makes me want to go watch the Hawkeye show to get more of the Florence Pugh character. And I'm so Marvel fatigued at this point. Like, I'm even struggling to watch Daredevil, and I fucking loved the original Daredevil, and I haven't been able to get past the second episode. So the fact that I'm like wanting to go watch a Marvel series because of this movie, I don't know. I think that says a lot. It reinvigorates me a little bit, but like Jim said up front, let's not go too crazy, with the praise. But I don't know. I appreciate about this movie too that like a character that, I was really sad that Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow went away. Like, she was one of my favorite parts of the original Avengers. I've been mad about it ever since. But I think I was resistant to the Yelena character because I had Scarlett Johansson glasses on, and now I'm like, you know what? She is Black Widow. This is her story now, and I want to support her, and I want to see more of it. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I find it interesting that in this film, or at least looking at IMDb, the characters are listed with names, not superhero names. Like, it's not Black Widow or like even Red. What's his name? Red Guardian. It's not. He's not. He's not. I don't think he's listed as Red Guardian, right? He's listed as. I don't see it now. I don't see him in here. Alexei, right?
Alexei Shostakov,
right? Whereas in any other Marvel movie, or certainly the Avengers movie, Iron Man, well, it's Tony Stark, I get it, but like, you have the Hulk, it's just interesting that they're kind of getting away. They seem to be downplaying that angle of these characters and leaning into the human side of these characters more. And we said it up front that's why I think we liked it a lot more.
To the point of, and I say this not to correct, but just to honestly to
No, you could correct me anytime.
to accentuate. So Yelena, she's the White Widow, not the Black Widow. But they don't make that a fucking big deal because it's not a story about which. In fact, the Widow part of it is sort of pushed to the back burner.
Right.
Because she's pushing it to the back burner. She's Yelena trying to get past all of the Red Room Widow stuff. I think the fact that they have it that way in the IMDb is a good thing for that very reason. Yeah, and I'm interested in seeing, we got a stinger at the end where we know that they're now the Avengers, but we now know that there is another group of Avengers, basically the Sam Wilson group, that's like, hey, wait a minute. And I'm interested in seeing how that plays out. We already know they did this big reveal of like all the cast members that are going to be in Avengers Doomsday, whenever that, I think, which is just about to start shooting. They did like this reveal where it was like 34, I think, chairs, and it scrolled past. It'd be like, Sebastian Stan, Pedro Pascal, Florence Pugh, basically just all the characters that were going to be in that movie. And there's a reason why all of the main characters that were in that tower, including Louis Pullman, had their names revealed there. They're going to be a big part of whatever that thing is to come. I'm excited to see it because I want to follow these characters. I am interested in whatever comes next with this story and with this group.
Are you talking about the trailer? So there's two stingers attached to this movie. There's one for comedic effect inserted in the credits, which is the Alexei characters in the supermarket, and there's a woman shopping for cereal, and she sees the Wheaties box, and he has to tell her, not that one. But then there's one later at the end that is obviously the tie-in to Fantastic Four, right? The Fantastic Four movie that's coming out, which I think a lot of people are excited about, probably a lot more excited than I am. But I don't know how that ties to this at all. I don't know.
Yeah.
And you don't have to explain it. You don't have to
I'm not going to. I have theories, and the great part is I've got just enough to be excited, but not so much to know for sure. And that's cool.
Okay, cool. I don't think I even have enough to be excited, but but we'll see it.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just looking at the cast list that was announced. I saw that the announcement had come out, and I had read some of the names, but this is the first time I read the whole thing, and pulling out a lot of people with this one for sure. It's going to be
like an all-star movie.
But,
yeah, and it's the next Avengers movie, so sort of like the Infinity War and Endgame, how it basically pulled a bunch of things together into that. This is that version of this. So a lot of the stories that are happening now are going to coincide there. So that's why we're seeing a lot of those cast members there.
Gotcha.
Indeed. All righty. Well, I think maybe this is a good point to wrap. What do you think?
I think so.
I think we've gotten our thunder out.
Shots and bolts. Well, it's been a good discussion. Two big movies, which it's kind of funny. Like when you boil them down, they're both about a ragtag group of heroes, ? Like fighting evil and trying to do the right thing and all the craziness that's happening. And they both say big things. And I love that we're able to get together and talk about both Sinners and Thunderbolts. We're looking at what comes next. We'll figure out what our schedule is going to look like. It's going to be a busy summer. I'll tell you right now, most of June, probably like 3/4 of June, I think we're going to be out again, but we may have some stuff coming your way in the weeks up till then. Also, Megan 2.0 is coming out in July, and I feel like we have to hit that one too. We'll talk about it, but
Yeah.
Let's do
Yeah.
that, Brad. Dance, dance, dance.
Yeah.
yeah, I wish I could do it like that SNL Megan 2.0 skit. Will, did you see that?
Oh my god.
Oh God, I haven't laughed that hard in a long time.
So
Thank you,
good.
SNL. Anyway, so good. All right, let's let folks know how they can connect with us between now and our next recording. Jim Puliafco, how can people find and talk to you?
Since you just mentioned my name, Jim Puliafco, that's how you could find me on Facebook under my name, Jim Puliafco. But you'll also find my my movie rankings, ratings, and occasional reviews on Letterboxd under the name at JJP Out West. At JJP Out West,
All
my
right.
handle on Letterboxd. Check out Letterboxd if you haven't already. All the cool movie kids are on there. Get on it.
Be a cool movie kid. And we're not even, we're not even sponsored by Letterboxd like a lot of
No.
other podcasts. I feel like if we have someone who has some time, maybe they could reach out to
But who has time?
Letterboxd.
You know,
See what we could do. Nobody.
Yeah, no one
None
not
of us
even
have-
retired.
or anything.
not
like
even.
that.
Yeah, it's not like, oh wait,
Well, to be fair, I could not write or not play a video game in one of my free hours and send them an email too. So,
nah.
in any event, Jim, thanks so much for letting folks know how they can find you. William Lindis, how about you, my handsome friend?
Yeah, there's two main places. Facebook, William Lindis. Just look for me there. That's kind of my main social platform. But also Letterboxd at the Movie Bear. Listing and ranking movies. It's a fun place to be. If you're not on Letterboxd, get on it. It's a really, really fun way to engage with film and to find new discoveries. And again, that's not a sponsored thing. It's just a thing that I believe. So yeah, join us over on Letterboxd.
All right, excellent. And you can find me for the immediate time being on Facebook. Just look for Bradley with an Ley Harris. That's how I'm differentiating myself from the crazy person and his Confederate flags. Or you can find me on Blue Sky or Letterboxd at iBradPro. It's like iPad Pro, but with my name. I thought I was really clever when I made it, and then I was like, maybe not. But it's what it is. It's stuck. Feel free, reach out, say hi. Let's talk movies. Thank you all so much for tuning in. It was great hanging out with all of you out there in listener land. Jim, Will, always a pleasure to do this with you. We're going to go ahead and bid thee adieu for now, but we will see you all next time. Take care, everybody. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye bye.